On the front page. So we've been, as we told you, we've been trying to get commentators to assist us with looking at what we have in front of us, where this special report into the Prime Minister's statutory declarations are concerned. And to a man and woman, we spoke to several men and women who said that they need time to comb through the report. We tried to get through to the President of the Senate, Tom Tavares, for instance, but he has an engagement that's happening now at the Electoral Office of Jamaica, Electoral Commission rather. We were talking with the General Secretary of the PNP, Dr. Dayton Campbell, who said that, boy, he needed time too to go through the documents. We tried to make a link with him this morning, unsuccessfully. He looks to have gone to bed late, given the last time we saw him. And so we're trying. What we do, what
the
we do have...
National Integrity Action as well.
Yes, JAMP, all of those people, they just need more time. JAMP, Jeanette Caller is elsewhere. JAMP, the NIA says they need more time to read through, and a couple other people have told us the same thing. We're going to have a quick conversation with a member of the JLP's Communications Committee, Marlon Morgan, who we intended to have on with Dr. Campbell so that we could have a balance of perspectives with this issue. Dr. Campbell, we've been unable to get in touch with him, so we're going to plow on with Mr. Morgan. Good morning, sir.
Hi, good morning, George. Good morning, Tana. Good morning to your listeners as well.
Mr. Morgan, given what the Integrity Commission have compiled here in this 177-page report, notwithstanding the recommendation for a prosecution to be pursued, which was not accepted, why must the Jamaican people believe that the Prime Minister is an honest man? Put it that way.
All right, well, George, like as you have said in the lead-in just now, a number of persons, myself included, are reading through the report substantively with a view to further apprise ourselves as to all of its contents. And so my engagement this morning, and indeed my remarks in respect to this matter, essentially are preliminary and, of course, having regard to the major bits of the report in terms of conclusions and some of the background information and key findings that would have been adduced following the Integrity Commission's investigation into the matter. In terms of your substantive and primary question here, what I'd like to say first and foremost, is that, like all well-thinking Jamaicans, I welcome the fact that this report has finally been delivered to Parliament and indeed tabled in the Parliament so that it affords us an opportunity to read through and have discussions like these, as will happen in the days and weeks ahead. In terms of the Prime Minister and his situation in terms of integrity, what we find is that the Integrity Commission, having regard to the considerable resources that would have been expended in respect of this probe, consequent on the Prime Minister's statutory declarations, and going as far as even securing the services of an international forensic accounting examiner, would have made no finding as to impropriety or illicit enrichment on the part of our Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Willis. The truth of the matter is that, in a very curious way, we have seen the IC going to great lengths. Many onlookers and observers would construe all of what is coming out now as essentially a witch hunt or very curious actions. I will not venture to make such an assertion, but I'm simply locating in this discussion the observations that I'm gleaning from many members of the public. They find it very curious, and the substantive point here is that no finding of illicit enrichment has been made in respect to the Prime Minister, and in circumstances where the Integrity Commission itself, by way of its Director of Corruption Prosecution, has indicated that the weight of the explanations provided by the Prime Minister accord with the evidence more so than any determination to the contrary. And those, I believe, are the germane and imperative takeaways in respect to this matter.
You say witch hunt. Explain.
No, what I've said is that having regards to, so let us consider context and backdrop here. You have had investigations ongoing for a considerable number of years, no fewer than 3 years. You would have had the Prime Minister being very cooperative in terms of.
That's not what Kevin Stevenson says, though. He says the Prime Minister has failed to provide a schedule of his expenses to allow him to make a sufficient finding.
What I'm saying, George, is that the Prime Minister would have availed himself to the Commission. He would have provided responses. He would have had the services of his attorney to, provide particulars to the Integrity Commission. The degree to which they would consider that sufficient or not, well, they have made that determination and they have conveyed that in their report, and that's fine. In terms of the point I made a while ago, in terms of the use of the word witch-hunt, the fact is that there are members of the public who are looking on, and they would have considered this matter in its entirety, and as I've said before, having regard to the protracted investigation that have ensued, having regard to the Commission itself not being able to make any finding of impropriety or indeed illicit enrichment, and in circumstances where the Commission went as far as to secure the services for reasons best known to the Commission, in terms of the services of an international forensic accounting examiner, and have still not been able to, proffer or aver a finding that would suggest that the Prime Minister be prosecuted. It is just very telling, and it is not surprising, therefore, that all of those things taken together, persons in the public, Jamaicans looking on, would be of the view that this is very curious, this is perhaps unprecedented, and they have come away with the view that this is essentially a witch hunt that is at play.
And Mr. Morgan, persons looking on as well are thinking that this matter is not quite over yet, because also part of the report, the Integrity Commission is raising concerns about tax compliance. And as we have been reporting, that it's calling for further investigations to be done by the FID, by TAJ, before the Integrity Commission can have a final say on the matter of the Prime Minister's statutory declarations. The question I'm asking this morning is, do you think this overall issue and what is to come will bleed political capital for the Prime Minister and your party?
So undoubtedly, what we're seeing before us are the makings of a stalemate, in the sense that the Integrity Commission, for the benefit of your listeners, is the constituted authority in relation to conducting investigations, receiving statutory declarations from members and other public officials, members of parliament that is, parliamentarians and other public officials, and indeed taking steps to undertake investigations that will allow them to ferret out corruption, because all of us are agreed that corruption has been a blot on the Jamaican body politic, and we would not want to foster or encourage that in any shape or form. So we're agreed that there's need for an Integrity Commission and for it to do its work in that regard, to ferret out and stamp out corruption, yes? In terms of the matter before us now, there's a stalemate in the sense that the constituted authority has undertaken its work and has not been able to proffer any finding that is adverse in terms of prosecution. And in those circumstances, as opposed to issuing or certifying the Prime Minister's statutory declaration, it is seeking to take onto itself or accrue to itself essentially powers that it does not properly possess. And the Senate President is quite accurate in terms of his technical legal observations, and persons can associate themselves with those observations as well, in the sense that the Integrity Commission is the constituted authority on conducting investigations and making findings and presenting those to Parliament, but it has no legal powers, Tana and George, to refer matters to any other competent or constituted authority, such as TAJ or FID. Indeed,
but to the heart of the question,
George, the question that could arise is, okay, if the Integrity Commission were to have its way, where would it end? Would we not have the Integrity Commission easily being able to invoke such other authorities, such as the Customs Department, the Municipal Corporation, the NEPA, for example, to look as to whether building or environmental permits have been, complied with and so on? The question is, where would it end? The Integrity Commission cannot seek to take onto itself or arrogate powers that are not properly vested in it or vested with it in terms of our statutory and legislative scenario.
How does the JLP, Marlon Morgan, move forward and present Mr. Holness to the Jamaican public as leader of the party, leader of the country, now that we know specifically what the Integrity Commission is looking for, we now know that they are not done with this matter, and there are so many questions swirling from this report around the Prime Minister's head. How does the JLP move forward and to present this gentleman to the public to say, well, here's the Prime Minister, he deserves a new mandate and the party with him?
Excellent question, George, and I'll tell you this. The discernment, capacity, and intellect of the Jamaican people is not to be discounted or undermined in any way, shape, or form. People are looking on and they are making of this matter what they will, having regard to all that has been out there, all the innuendo, the invectives that have been out there, and indeed, people are recognizing that what we're seeing is a politically motivated weaponization of the Prime Minister's certification of his statutory declarations being in abeyance. And for us in the JLP, we look at what the facts are. So other persons may seek to conjure up things in their mind. Other persons may seek to set up straw men and knock them down. Other persons may seek to advance an agenda of weaponizing the work of the Integrity Commission. But what we will say and what we are confident about is that the Prime Minister has been cooperative with the process. A considerable degree of investigation has ensued in terms of the manpowers, the resources that have been involved in this, and the Prime Minister's personal business affairs being probed and, attempts made to ferret out things and so on. And at the end of that exercise, George and Tana, no finding as to illicit enrichment has been made. No finding, just before you come in, no finding, as to misuse or...
Yeah, we get the point, because you said that a few times, Mr. Moore.
Well, I'm just supposing that with another point.
Yeah.
I'm just supposing it, George and Tana, with this point.
Yes.
In a dispensation past, the Office of the Contractor General, the great Christy then presiding Office of the Contractor General, made adverse findings in relation to this very person that Mr. Holness is now up against for the top job in this country, Mark Golding, insofar as him having been associated with an entity being a principal of DB&G, which was found by Greg Christie in his capacity as Contractor General at the time to have been engaged in our beneficiaries of sweetheart deals and through what Greg Christie described as a corruption enabling mechanism. So Mark Golding would have had that finding against him. Andrew Holness, George and Turner has no such finding against him. Let's be very clear on that. And that is why we're confident about our head of government and the leader of our political party.
You say the work of the Integrity Commission appears to be politically motivated. Motivated by whom?
No, I'm not saying the work of the motivated. What I've said is that what we've seen is a politically motivated weaponization.
So who was politically motivated? Who, by virtue of a political motive, has weaponized this Integrity Commission matter against the Prime Minister? Be clear.
George, for the past, 24 or so months, we have seen the PNP and its leadership essentially on the postings and on the political stump issuing invectives, issuing all kinds of comments, innuendo and allegations insofar as the Prime Minister and notions of illicit enrichment. We have seen an undermining of the work of the Integrity Commission, and they have been a large part, the PNP that is, of bringing the Integrity Commission to a point where members of the public are looking on and feel that they should repose little or no confidence in the IC.
Last question, and let me be very clear. Hold on, Mr. Morgan. So you're not saying, you're saying that while the PNP has been politicking, the Integrity Commission has been working in a silo, and that work has not been colored by what the PNP is saying, but that work has been used by the PNP as a weapon against the Prime Minister. Is that what you're saying?
So what I'm saying, I cannot make a comment as to whether the work of the IC has been colored or not. What I have said is that the PNP has weaponized the work of the Integrity Commission. I wouldn't be able to sit as an outsider and determine what is going on in the IC. But what we do know is that commissions and omissions within the IC are quite curious and are leading members of the public to believe that, hey, what we may well have here is a very unprecedented state of affairs and indeed a witch hunt.
Thank you this morning, Marlon Morgan.
So I've been very clear in my observations.
Thank you, sir.
Good. Thank you, George, and all the best.
Member, thank you very much. Member of the JLP's communication organization, Marlon Morgan. Again, we were trying very hard we made initial contact with the PNP General Secretary, but my gentleman said there's so much to read through, and he was trying his best, but up to this morning when we tried again, made several attempts, unable to get through to Dr. Dayton Campbell, the PNP General Secretary. .51 on this morning, just taking a step away from this matter concerning the Prime Minister for the moment, because the National Water Commission on Tuesday issued a statement warning delinquent customers of one district, Oxford District in St. Mary, that it will spare no effort to collect over $35 million in outstanding water bills. Several NWC workers visited the community and they were